Morning and progress.
Awesome. Good morning, everyone. I am Margaret Manalia, the Director of the Women's Business Center. I want to thank you so much for joining us for our Cafecito program. It's Can We Talk? Coffee and water in your hand. The purpose of today's session is really just talk. The topic today is on pricing. We wanted to make this just really casual, questions to answer. I think one of the biggest questions we always get is my product price? And I'm like, my answer to that is, are you? But today we're going to address that. How do you really price your product? Tell you a little bit about the Women's Business Center. Our goal is to help you build your foundation for your to be ready and to stay ready for opportunities. So those opportunities are grant loans, and I always say contact. We have a great team that we have part of our Women's Business Center. As I said, I am your director. We have Jacqueline Hernandez, she's our program manager and business advisor. Dr. Shankana Robinson is one of our contract advisors. And in addition to our program, she's one of our AmeriCorps business advisors as well. We like to say we have a small team, but a very mighty team. And it is LiftFund Women's Business Center. We are the support arm of the LiftFund program. We also have our lending arm that's what you're ready for is our lending arm as well. We're funded by the SBA. We also have to say you gotta know where our funds are coming from. That's why we ask you to fill out all the paperwork. Tell us a little bit who you are. That's why we're going to ask you. So part of that is the information that we track. More importantly, like tell us how fabulous we are, how we've been able to. I'm so excited today because our guest speaker and host for the host, he is the launch today. I like to say he's the keeper of the keeper, and he's the guy, somebody who knows somebody. He's the guy who had a sense of a mom launch today. And launch today, it's funded by the city of Antonio and hosted by LiftFund. So again, here we are, the business support arm of LiftFund. So we're collaborating today because it's true, guy knows somebody, knows everybody. But more importantly, from day one, I told I love explanation of pricing. It's really simple, but it's very effective. So today you have that privilege and opportunity to ask questions. So without further ado, Mr. Ryan Salt.
Thank you, Margaret. I appreciate you. Oh, I would say that's far too much credit already, to be honest with you. So, how's everybody doing? Yeah, cool. So I just want to kind of start with like, what do you hope? Really, what do you be looking for? What do you want to know? If you're like, I don't know. Like, you know, what about pricing is a concern?
Sorry. Oh no, if you force. No,
Like inflation.
Yeah.
Okay, what's up?
What if you're like a dog groomer and like so you charge for like your shampoos or whatever, and like how do you charge for your like palette?
Okay.
How do you find that sweet spot between the lower end so that it's affordable, but higher end so that it's value? Let's use our outdoor list.
Yeah. Any others?
I think the price is one of the most important inputs of the income. So important to maybe benchmark that, have already business operating, but we always struggle knowing if our price is fair, our price is, it's fair for both sides, customer and us, so.
Any other questions?
So, and how do you know what type of pricing strategy to use? Is it based on the value, the hours that you worked, what the market can bear? What if you're gonna charge this differently, hourly?
Yeah, of course. We'll get to those for sure. And then for my new friends that just joined us, my name is Ryan. I'm just asking, what do you want to know about pricing? If you don't know, that's fine. And
I'd say, yeah, we have a better idea
what type of business? Do you have? Okay. All three of you. Oh, dope. I'm just wondering. Okay, sweet. So let's talk about some of these things first, and then we'll talk about. You like banana bread? Okay. Sometimes, right? Some people may not be super high on bananas, but it's pretty high. Well, let's think about it. So, pricing at a general level has a multitude of factors. It has the elements of what you physically are providing, if you're providing something. And then it also has the elements of your talent and experience and expertise. Right? Depending on what you sell, if you sell a product or a service, there's a slight differential on how you would estimate that. But before we go into affordable versus valuable, talent versus products, price versus income, fairness, market, how many of you would work for me for $10 an hour? Margaret, you would? You would work for me. Okay, so there's a value there beyond the money.
Yeah, the same
Value there beyond. Okay, then let me see. How many of you would be a janitor for $10? You would. Okay. Why?
Having a full time finding jobs, so I think job like maybe at least I have. May not be something I entirely love, but it's a big.
So there's what we've learned here is that you each have some reasons beyond money possible, right? Now, that doesn't say that you're worth $10, right? So who wants to throw out? What do you think you're worth? Don't be afraid. I'm worth at least $500. Why am I worth $500 an hour? I'll get to that. That would cost some fraction. Anybody? No one wants to say. Everybody? Well, do you work hourly now? Anybody have a job right now? What do you, if you don't mind? Is that fair? Are you happy with it?
Satisfied, I'm like,
Would you do it for $10 an hour? If you could learn more, still value there. Okay, would you do your dog grooming for $10 an hour? No?
$1.20 an hour, but we get paid commission, but
So there's an incentive possible there. So how much time have you made a hat so far? You haven't made a hat. You've designed a hat. How long did it take you to design? Weeks. Okay. How many? Very.
hard for me to say.
Absolutely. So weeks, would that be 40 hours maybe? So I can pay you to design for me for 40 hours a week at $10 an hour? Yes.
Yeah.
That's the value of your site. Interesting. So what I'm getting at here is that you have an personal value that you set, right? It's only up to you on what you want to get paid, right? If I was to offer you to do any of these jobs for $0, if there's an existential reason that you would like to take that, that's your own volition, right? But there's also the value and worth that you have independently that really makes up whether or not you're being valued. This kind of relating at this point, right? A secondary factor is there's a value of the market, right? And in the market, there's the value that you have to provide to somebody else in order for them to take that position, right? How many of you have worked in hospitality, like a restaurant or bars? Okay. You work in a position that was like base plus tips? No, you work on flat rate hourly?
Just don't.
Oh, just on tips, okay. So, so within that job, if that's the going rate of what people will accept, then that's the going rate. You can choose to pay at that rate, or you can choose to pay higher than that rate. But if you choose to pay lower than that rate, most likely you will not find somebody to work. Does this make sense? Okay. If you've noticed, we're talking about economy, inflation, stuff like that. There's been a larger push that in the hospitality industry, you have to pay more in order to get specific talent. Maybe that's your kitchen staff went from $10 an hour to $15 an hour, right? Maybe your mechanics went from 25 to 40. Nurses during the height of the pandemic were getting paid hand over fist for the time and the extra critical components of their job, right? So if you're in a risky position, right? Like, oh, there's a risk to my health, a risk to my time, a risk to my livelihood, right? Then there's an inherent value there that also should be considered, right? If I said, hey, do you want to go work with alligators for $10 an hour, would you take it? No? How about $100? So yeah, everyone has a price. Take a look at it that way, but at some level, there's a value commitment across that board. Now I'll go into those factors a little bit more deeply, but I really want to start with like, in order to figure out what something is quote unquote worth it, you have to really decide on what is your value, right? And you talk about how do I price my talent, right? Well, what is the value of what you do? If you're comfortable making 25 an hour, cool, that's your value. If you're comfortable. If you want to make 40 an hour, cool, then it's 40, right? Why should you let other people dictate your value? Right? Is anyone uncomfortable with that? No?
But how do you come up with a price, how?
I'll get to that. Yeah, this isn't just me talking, that would be fun, but I actually have stuff. Like I said, I'm gonna talk about the okay, so affordable versus valuable, right? This is the other half of that equation that y'all are talking about. What is the affordability versus the value, right? Now we have talked just briefly in this circle about how you would do something for something possibly lesser than your value if there was a separate exchange of value, right? Affordability is a market question, right? Who are you selling to, right? And what do they want? Think about the types of shoppers, and again, there's no discrimination on this particular thing, but think about the types of shoppers that go to Walmart versus Target. Somebody wanted to describe what is the difference if you want to describe it.
customer.
Yeah. What are they looking for? Who goes to Target? Okay, so what do you love about Target?
Thomas Walker,
Clean, okay,
I like the great
okay,
different products.
different products, okay. How about in the back, whoever was up?
Maybe just the products, the offer. It's always that saying, you go to Target for one, and other things. Versus Walmart, you don't get the same idea, I mean, you could, but the products Target offers, price wise, material wise, it's variety compared to Walmart.
Okay. And when you think about Walmart, you think of maybe staples? Like things that are common items, like, oh, laundry detergent. Household items, maybe like hot dogs, things like that, right? Do you think about like the Magnolia Home Campus? No, but I might think about that at Target. That is a promotion they're doing. Not a spokesperson. But what's up?
It also, I think in terms of finding, saving money,
Yeah. Right.
maybe not always quality,
Awesome.
but you know, something you can find.
Absolutely. How many of you remember, I mean, I'm not old or anything. How many of you remember the little rollback smiley face? You remember? Okay. It was like the smiley face at Walmart, and they used to like whip the price tag, and then it would, anybody's like having flashbacks now?
Yeah.
Okay, see, not super old. But that was a part of their marketing campaign. Why? Who are they trying to attract? Right? Now the question for you is, who are you trying to attract? Right? Do you want to be dealing in value, affordability, or do you want to be dealing in something else? What are your values as a company? Right? Are your hats low end? No, just in general. Like, is it a poor quality? Would it be at Walmart? Where would it be? Okay, but if you had to put it in, yeah, what store would you think it would fit well? Okay, cool. It's a different market, right? We have a completely different perception of Macy's, Dillard's versus Walmart, correct? Okay. Now you want to sell mortgage related instruments, correct? Okay. What is y'all's value? What are you providing to the customer? Okay. Okay. Would you say you're better at that than most people?
Yes.
Okay, so you feel confident, right? So knowledge, right? Like that's another one that has sort of an indeterminate price, or an unknown price, right? How do you factor in the value of knowledge, right? If I told you I was a consultant and I charged $1,000 an hour, am I a good consultant or a bad? Why not?
Because you just see that person as a price tag, it's find the actual the good price and I'll the
Okay, but public perception is usually correct, right? So do you think that, go ahead.
Also be seen as good because of high price.
Mhm.
And oftentimes things are priced higher off.
Possibly, yeah.
The lawyers and charge.
Great point. If I was a surgeon and I told you, hey, look, I'll do open heart surgery on you for $10 an hour. Am I a great surgeon? Why not? Maybe I'm really good. No. Who knows, right? So there is a perception of price, correct? What's up? So if I have great results, right? The $1,000 an hour may be amazing. It theoretically could be low, right? Let's say that I made a company $100,000. Would $1,000 an hour be low or? Sorry? Yeah. Like if I helped another company. Okay. Or if I helped make a company $1 million, would it be higher or less?
Pretty low.
Right. So then it's all perception, right? Who am I working with? Like, what are the values that I create? And what do I hold myself to? What am I delivering? Right. And then again, who is the market, right? Because I'm not going to be able to sell $1,000 an hour consulting to somebody that's just starting out, right? They don't have them, right? But let's say that I'm like amazing and HEB's like, oh my God, this guy's better than sliced bread, like not as good. Then maybe to them I'm worth that much money. Maybe I'm worth even. It's about conveying those points of value, right? So when you think about the conversation, before we even can get to the pricing, I like to talk about value because value is not the price. Value is not affordability. Value is literally what do you get out of it, right? And before you can figure out how much it's worth to someone else, well, what is the value that you're giving away, right? Education, that's a big one. If I give you a tip that helps you create $1 million, probably pretty valuable tip. Right? If I give you access to information that helps you scale your business, probably pretty valuable tip. If I help you save money on a purchase, probably a pretty valuable tip, right? And if I'm doing this for more people, right, and those people are satisfied, then there is a community-based value here. People are getting more than one, right? How does that make you feel so far? Anybody have? Are you thinking about some things differently?
Spend a little on community.
Yeah, community-based value. Just the more people you serve, the bigger the community you build is, right? So, when you think about marketing, that's really like how many people you're serving and how excited they are about the values that you're creating, right? Because you can go to any place for any of the things that y'all are, right? You want to make hydroponics, right? Well, what's the difference between you and HEB? I just go to HEB. Okay, so that's a value, right? Okay, yeah, but I mean, I could get organic.
That will be substantial.
Oh, so more value, fresh, right? And then for your services, right? Talked about make ready, right? So what do you? I mean, I'll call them like Mary Maids or something.
Our value is that we're trustworthy.
Okay.
And we save time to the realtor.
Okay, so the real
To the realtor because we are in charge of the whole process.
okay. So like I don't
Like
need to
a
call like
team
Stanley Steiner. What is it? Stanley Steiner
Yeah, because normally they have to call them separately.
individually.
Yeah, so
Okay, so you're like doing the whole bag. Got it, right? So there's a value. I save my time, right? Everybody has particulars. I ask people this a lot. Like, does a value? Do you would you drive 10 miles for 2 cents less on gas? No, right? So you probably just go to the closest place. Right. So convenience, the value. How convenient is it? Is it easily accessible? Right. That doesn't mean it's cheaper. Just convenient, right? So what are your values, right? You don't know what they are. Ask your customers. It's one of the places I would start with first. Use the words that they use to describe you in order to figure out what your values are. Like, oh my God, you're so helpful. Cool. That's really great, like statement. Or your designs are so unique, right? What's something different? Like it makes me feel this way. What does it make you? Oh my God, I just feel so much more empowered, right? My house doesn't smell like dog. I wash my dog. My house smells like sir. Or, you know, I love how the dog looks so happy, right? You like anthropomorphize animals, so dog looks happy. I'll make your dog look happy. What's up? Cool. So far, anyone wasted their time? I have to double check. Let's see. More story fair for both. So fair for both, right? That goes against the market. Who are you selling? If you believe everyone is your customer, then nobody is your customer, right? So you've already sold dog grooming, correct?
So what,
Like you've already offered, like done the services.
I've been a government for like,
Okay, yeah. And so the customers that you have, like, what are they? Are they kind of similar in some ways?
yeah, they're really, the ones that I get are really big.
Okay.
They like the lap dogs.
Okay.
So that's more of the.
Okay. So they're very. I don't know the best. I'll just say person, right? That's exactly what you said. I'll use that word. So they're high attention type customers, right? People that you really have to like dedicate time to. They are extremely particular. Probably are going to be more time consuming for you to deal with, right? Oh, hey, Poopy's nail looks a little weird or something. Like, can you do it again? Kind of thing.
But different people, will do different. So I tend to get like people like the lap dogs. and
Okay,
stuff.
yeah. So we have a general idea, older ladies, lap dogs. In a specific area of town?
I wanted to open in Stono, but the ranch,
Okay, but where are your customers living?
right, like,
By bidders, okay? So, I mean, that I would argue, if your customers are closer to bidders, it would make more sense for you. But, no big, right? So when you look at the customers that you have, right, again, if we use the gas station analogy, like, you're not going to a gas station as best, right? Like, maybe Buc-ee's, but even that's something of a convenience. You're not probably going there specifically out of your way just to make it a difference. So there's things that you're offering and reasons why people pick you. And sometimes it's based on, yes, I will drive that far to go get the thing. Like, oh my God, I want to get this Tiffany's ring. Well, there's only one Tiffany store. Well, if it's really worth it for you, then you'll drive up, right? But if it's something that you can just get anywhere, right? Then, oh, I'll just go around the corner. It's no big deal, right? I'm not going to drive that. You're going out to a nice restaurant, you know, you'll probably drive a little further. You may not go as consistently, right? If you are the best dog groomer for lap dogs, grandmas, right? Maybe they're not grandmas, but older ladies, right? Then maybe the relationship you have with those clients is one that they will go further for, right? Or maybe based on your reputation, it's something that they will go further for. Like this lady's the only one that can deal with my poodle. She's just, I don't know, the poodle master or something like that. You said lap dogs, and that's not quite a lap dog. So there's these perceptions of fair and affordable, but it depends on who you're selling to, and it depends on what they want and why they value you, right? For those people, if you're offering something that no one else can provide them, then it's a fair price for them because they really want you. You should not devalue yourself because they drove for it, right? Or because they had to do, them having to do extra stuff is not of your concern, really. If you want to cut a deal as a business owner, that is your prerogative, but that should not be your seat. It should not be what you live on. A friend of mine named Margaret, who runs the Women's Business Center, talks about how she really loves JCPenney. Y'all been to JCPenney? Okay. So when she talks about this story, I'm saying it as though she's not in it, but I'm on the camera. She talks about this story. She talks about how JCPenney's consistently gave coupons away, and that made their clothes very affordable, right? raising 2 young boys, she made sure that they always had the right clothes, but she was gonna be a little bit more focused on quality with price, right? And JCPenney's had good prices on it. Now, flip side, JCPenney's hired a new CEO. New CEO says, hey guys, we're doing away with coupons, but it's still gonna be the best price. And the astute mother that Margaret was, she said, it actually was the best price. I double checked, right? But guess what happened to JCPenney's? No coupon, no customer. Why did that happen? Because they had conditioned their customers to expect a lower price. The more you offer these lower prices, the more I know I can hold out on, right? So again, don't let other people define your value, and then don't define your value as invalue. And one of the things I love that Margaret also said, that if you want to provide something, you can always provide a value added, you know? Hey, yeah, I know the wash was, you know, $40, but we're gonna actually do the nails for free. Like, what is that? You know, 5 extra minutes. And that extra value may be considerable enough that they're like, oh my God, this person's really taking care of it, right? You're creating a relationship with your customer that makes it worth it for them to come back. Oh yeah, for every half you buy, oh, we give you a sticker. I don't know what to do with a sticker, but people like stickers, you know? And then, you know, for every new house that we sell, we give you a bottle of wine, you know? Oh, and then when it's the day of you bought the house a year later, we give you another bottle, just a reminder. And then not expensive bottle of wine, you go $2 up on this thing. Like small things in that. Like, what relationship are you creating with your customer, right? What value are you creating for your customer? What makes them think of you before anyone else, right? What feeling do you leave them? What are they looking for? All of these things, again, are preempted towards price. And the more time you sit and think about what are these values that I'm providing, then it's a little bit more palatable for you to stomach that it can be a higher price. I know a lot of people struggle with price, and there is a mathematic component to price. But I also want you to remember, because I deal with this a lot with entrepreneurs. Oh my God, the product has to be $8 a bottle. Who's gonna buy that? Well, you may not buy that, but does that mean nobody's gonna buy that? Right? I mean, they sell pizza. It's like $1,000 pizza. All they did was throw some gold shavings on it. Is it worth $1,000? You can get gold leaf over at Hobby Lobby for like $1, maybe $5. Sure doesn't make the pizza worth $1,000, right? But they're selling it for that. So you may not buy it, but you may not be your customer, right? Be okay. So, you know, don't have heartburn over, oh my God, I can't believe I have to charge this. Yeah, well, this is what it costs to stay open, right? You may not be my customer, that's okay. Maybe if you want to offer a second, hey, you know, our hats are $45 a hat, but I do have beanies that are $20. If you're interested. If you're not, that's okay. No big deal. You don't have to sell everything. So, any questions so far? You're worth more. See, at least everyone wants to talk about, man, I just don't feel like I'm worth a lot. I've already fixed your life. Now I'm going to go through a couple other things, but like I said, I'm going to talk about probably bananas. All right, sweet. Who likes bananas? We already talked about this. You're just going to like subconsciously go buy bananas after this. Okay. So I like to paint this really stupid example. And it may not be stupid yet, but it will be stupid after you hear it. So I want to start a business, right? I want to start a business. What's the easiest thing I can do? Man, I could go flip bananas for $1 a piece, right? Sounds like a really good thing. I can buy a bunch of bananas, 5 bananas to a bunch or whatever, for a dollar, right? That makes it about 20 cents. We're all good with this math so far. All right. And so I think, well, every single banana I sell for a dollar, it only costs 20 cents to me, right? So I'll make 80 cents, right? This is swimming. I'm good, right? We're all good. Everyone's happy. I'm making a lot of profit. And so I only need to sell 1,250,000 bananas until I'm a millionaire, right? And we're all done. Okay, you can all go home. It's pricey. Just kidding. That's not pricey. That is what most people do, right? You stop at what it costs you to deliver the value. But what's missing from it? Anybody want to throw stuff out?
Reception.
Not yet. No, I mean, these are tangible costs also. That will end up being at the end. So, man, it's great. So we already know that the bananas get $1 a bunch, 5 piece, and that I'll sell them for 20 cents more or less. So what did it cost me? Yeah,
Like transportation, delivery, that, how do you do that? How do you-
it's a business rate. Yeah. So the logistics. Okay, so that's about getting the bananas, maybe delivering the bananas. So let's say, I mean, you're selling them at a market, right? What did it cost you to be in that market? Did anybody ever done a farm? Oh, okay, there's one lady in that. Somebody. So farmers market. Or for you, that might be an office. That might be a retail front. It could be a home office. What did it cost you to present the beans, right? Putting them in bags, putting them in, like, hey, it's here, like, strap it. How do we feel about it? Did it cost you anything? Go ahead.
No.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, it's important fact. So we're gonna actually add some pricing that are related to more of the logistics, right? So I'm just gonna start throwing stuff up. Farmers market fee. Margaret, how much does a farmers market cost? Just any price.
250.
250. Okay. Well, you know what? We'll make this easy because it's a brand new business. So I'm gonna say 25. That's like I got accepted as a pro for 1 day. What else? What else goes into this? Do you pay for, Margaret? Do you have tables?
Tables.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Gas. Okay. How?
Credit card fees.
Why I'm not cash based business. We're trying to get simple cash based. Bags, right? What was that?
Gas.
Gas. Okay. Oh, card. Okay.
Like you said, packaging,
Packaging up with bags.
I thought those are bags.
I mean, maybe, right? It's just bags.
The product is.
Bags, not bags. Yeah, no, I got, man. Okay, and then. Once y'all all figured out all the expenses before I even got. Okay, well, for what it's worth, for percent. Margaret, how many hours is the mark? Okay. So let's just say we're gonna do the $10 an hour thing. So we're looking at $40 here. We're looking at $30 here. The Pearl, I think that's like $15 or something to park. Gas, it's gone down a little bit. Let's say that it's a really close thing. I live down the street. Let's call it 2 gallons. So $6 probably. Bags. I'm gonna go Amazon on this, so let's call it $2, right? Decorations. I'm gonna go real cheap as best as I can. Dollar store, go another $2. Chairs, how much does chair cost these days? 20? We'll just do. A table, let's just go one table. Okay, we're gonna go with 15. I'm trying to run a business. I'm trying to run a business. Yeah. Yeah, so, well, yeah, everything else, I don't know, I could have borrowed. No, I'm just trying to get started. It's just me. So we have about $30 plus $40, $70 in labor. And we have. I did go to school for accounting, but I do it all. We have about $80 in product and, well, really, overhead. I don't know what I'm gonna call it, I'm just gonna call it $80. And then I have my products, which is $1. Okay. This is looking really good, don't you think? No one thinks so. I understand. So we're looking at about $151, right? 151. These are the Bacardi of bananas.
So the 80 is the expenses for the market.
Expenses for the market, expenses for decoration, table chairs. Some of these things have a longer life, right? Bags I'll go through. Tables and chairs, you know, I'll replace them maybe once every 2 years and make that. Gas, obviously I have to replace for just the parking or something like that. So $151 divided by 5 bananas. Right? That means that every banana that we sell needs to be $30.20. And that is just to break even. Yeah, on my first little there it is again. And that's because I'm using only 5. Does that mean that nobody's gonna buy a $30 banana? Somebody out there. But as we discussed earlier, I thought I was making a lot of money, 80 cents. The reality was I probably was losing a lot of money, right? And so the point of how this works, right? You think about your pricing, you want to think about all of the existential costs that are involved, right? Whether that's people, your labor, all of the incidental items that you use in terms of like putting the product together. And then all of the equipment and everything like that that you likely use. Now, you can striate some of these things out, and the things that are important to the product or service, we can look at in a slightly different way. So like, for example, we know that bags are gonna be related to the product or service, right? Bags and the bananas related to product. Now, overhead, things that aren't related to that, showing up at the market, that's overhead. The gas and parking overhead, that's just kind of getting there, right? The labor, right? I'm sunk there already because I just got a meter. Essentially, in this case, it would be my overhead. And then some of the assets that I have are tables and chairs, and then decorations. They could be used multiple times, and ideally over the course of time, right? So obviously, if you were to do a real scenario here, you wouldn't want to do just 5 bananas, right? However, how do you factor in what those costs? You have to take a percentage of the lifetime of some of these things and then apply them into your overhead costs, right? So if you think that a table is going to last you for a year, then we divide that table, $15, by the length of a year, right? And you could say that that might be 12 months, say that's 365 days. I don't really care what you call it, right? But some portion of that should be in there. Why? Because if the table goes out, you need to buy a table, right?
The same applies for equipment. For example,
Exactly. It would be the same, you know.
case
if-
power washing machine.
Exactly, right? So if you know that your power washing machine is only gonna last you for 3 years, and you haven't budgeted in what that cost of the machine is gonna be, then when it goes out, where do you buy it? Right? So you need to consider, well, what's my overhead? What are the things that I'm using this? If a drill is only gonna last you for X amount of time, well, how are we factoring that operating cost within the business? And so factoring some of those things in is gonna. Go ahead. No, really the non-consumable type of things. They're gonna be the things that you, that have a lifespan beyond usually a year. Or have, for example, bills, are relating to literally just keeping the lights on, right? So like your insurance, pay it no matter what, it doesn't bring you any money in, you have to pay, right? That's overhead. That's the cost of doing business before the business even opens. That's more considerable on overhead.
The consumables like the bags,
Bags are inventory.
inventory.
And then bags, bananas and stuff like that. Fancier way of calling it would be cost of goods. So all of the costs that you have to put together, that makes the product, that's your cost of goods, right? Tables, chairs, things that have a lifespan, but eventually will die. Yeah, overhead, let me back. I wasn't trying to make this a real accounting presentation, right? So I wasn't really trying to define terms. So yeah, overhead are the things that you have to pay to just have the business open. You make no money on, right? Your rent is overhead. Your insurance is overhead. Being at that market, the market, that's overhead. You make no money on it, but you have to pay, right? Utilities overhead. Assets are things that have a lifespan that may at some point deteriorate. You buy a stand mixer, lasts for how long, right? You buy a camera, it lasts for how long? Or you buy a computer, like eventually it may need to be replaced, right? Hydroponic system, for example, right? And if you don't factor in the cost of that, how much that hydroponic system costs? Just $100,000, let's call it, right? Random number. If it costs $100,000 and it's supposed to last 10 years, so that means I need to make 10 grand a year just to cover the fact that I've invested in the system. Who knows? It might be $125,000 in 10 years, and it could also go bad in 8 years. Who knows, right? So if you're not factoring in for these costs, how do you hope to repurchase the items that you needed in order to do the thing? Right, exactly. And so those are the things that you want to figure out as you're going through it, right? Now, this is really what I like to call a napkin numbers based concept. Now, this isn't the only part of the presentation, and I haven't been looking at the time, but hopefully you don't mind too much. I'll try to go through this a little bit quicker for this space. So, can y'all see that? Is that somewhat legible? All right, I'll try to make it a little bigger. Is that any better? Okay, so we have, like, this is for a salon-based business, right? We have fixed expenses and variable expenses. So if you think about a salon, we have rent, internet, insurance, variable expenses, things that can go, that you can use consistently. So general supplies, toilet paper, hand towels, whatever, right? Marketing that can adjust. You might say, well, I'll throw 50 bucks in today, I'll put 100 bucks in tomorrow, $0 next week. Your product, right? That may be something, well, we order a lot of shampoo today, next month, maybe we don't have to rebuy it, or we didn't get as many dogs in this time. Every time it rains, we have to go repurchase a ton, right? Because dogs are getting dirty. So that can vary. Utilities, usually pretty stable, to be honest with you, but they can, right? So when you think about things that are variable, those are ones that you have to kind of have an eye for. It's like more of what to think for. Fixed expenses, those are like my overhead costs. That's things that I legitimately have to pay no matter what, right? So in this particular scenario, the idea was that this lady was going to do a class. And in that class, she would take X amount of students, and we were trying to figure out, well, what does the pricing look like for her, right? So we have the retail price. This is what the other people pay, right? The attendee of the class pays. She was thinking, maybe I'll charge $27.50. Maybe I'll try that. Okay. When I asked her, well, what exactly are your expenses in this thing? When it came up to be, well, I provide them makeup kits and materials. So $400, right? Everybody gets that off the top. I also include a photographer to come in and take photos of what they do. Okay, $100. Lab supplies for them to actually do their testing. It's another $100, right? Those are things that are pretty straightforward, but they vary for her because it depends on the number of students. Does that make sense? So it's not a variable, like everybody would get this, but in her business, every student she had would change how many she'd have to buy, right? And then the fixed expense for her was the teacher. No matter what, there needs to be a teacher for this class. That's the one thing that really wouldn't change. Like there's 20 students in the class, there's one student in the class, the teacher gets paid the exact same, right? And you think about that in your own terms, right? You may be in a business to where, hey, look, we only need one cleaner for this one thing. Like, doesn't matter how large the job is, you just need one, right? So you can kind of adjust these things. So when we think about this, we have an idea that, okay, her teacher is going to cost her $2,700. Her supplies and all of the stuff she provides to the students is going to cost her about $600. So if we add those two things together, we get $3,300. Make sense? Okay. But she was charging $2,750. You see how she was losing money, right? Now that's if there's one student, right? Now her goal would not be to teach one student, right? Her goal would be to teach maybe 5. So if we change it to 5, now you can see that if she was to keep the price at $2,750, but she was to have 5 students, she could actually make much more money because her expenses, the one fixed expense that she has, the teacher stays the same, right? Yeah, she has to buy more supplies for the students, but the most expensive part is the teacher, right? So the more students she gets, the more money she can make. Does this make sense? Right. So in her case, the idea was, well, what do we need to charge in order to make this an actual thing, right? And I said, well, what do you feel like you want to charge? And I think this is the price. Okay. Well, when we look at it, I say, if you do a class of 1, you will lose money. You'll lose $550 every time you do a class of 1. So does that mean you should do a class of 1? No, because you will lose money, right? So then the question is, do we offer it at all? Yes, if you can get more than one student. Make sense? So when you put some of these things into context, right? Say, okay, well, this is my model. This is how much it's gonna cost me to do the thing, right? How much am I gonna make based on how many I sell? Revenue is how much you sell. How much do I have to spend every time that I go out and do this thing, right? I like to break it down again into variable expenses and fixed, because fixed, again, they don't change, they're stagnant. Variable is a dependent, like however many bananas that I sell is also the equivalent number of bags that I need, right? I don't need more chairs to sell bananas. Does that make sense? My market fee doesn't go up if I sell more bananas, right? So it's good for me to know because this will change based on your sales. Your variable expenses will change based on your sales. Your fixed expenses won't change, which is sort of a gift and a curse, depending on what your business model is. So the more you can save in your variable expenses, you can save more money for profit. The best prices you can get on your fixed expenses, you get lower insurance and stuff like that. It's going to make a difference, right? And then it's literal throughput. Well, I can sell this many things. Here are my costs. This is the cost per class, or I added them up together basically, and I will make this much money for what I did, right? Now her business model is a little different because it's a service-based business, right? A banana-based business is like, but yeah, so this is kind of just a basic idea of pricing. This one's a little bit more service-oriented. The banana one is a lot more retail product-oriented, but it's the same concept, right? What are my expenses? What are my fixed expenses? My variable expenses? What does it cost me to just be open? And then how many things do I need to do in order to break even, right? Does that sound realistic? If it turns out to be, I need to sell 1,250,000 bananas in order to make it work, is that realistic? Probably not, right? So then the question is there a way I can do that, or does my price need to go up? Now, if you understand your expenses in totality, right, this 5,700 per class, what most people will tell you is if you understand your expenses in totality, if you want to run a multiplier of, I think it's 30%, no, it's depending on industry, it's either between 30% and 100% of your expenses. That'll give you kind of a baseline for what you might want to charge, right? So if your expenses are, for example, 5,700, if you were to run that by 30%, I think that you'd probably be close to this $8,000 mark. Does that make sense? Anyone not getting it? Okay, so I'll use a dollar. Yeah, so if my expenses are $150, right? Then not all expenses.
Well, that, the table would be the total expense.
Right, so if my expenses are 150, then I probably want to try to, which means that my bananas are 30. Then I probably want to sell each one for, now this sounds ridiculous. That's a marker you can use, right? When you think about your pricing, you can multiply by 30%, and that'll give you an estimate of what your retail price should be. There's wiggle room, because that will create your profit, right? Your margin on that, all expenses included, it's like $70, right? That's pretty good. but if you wanted to make it cheaper. Does that make sense?
multiply.
30%. Right, to cover your expenses, your overhead, all this. That's like the mathematic way.
30?
I did 150. Well, yeah, it's actually 150. Yeah, so this is what I actually, 150 divided by 30%, which is 0.30. That gives me 500. And then I divide it by the 5 bananas. And that tells me how much to sell each banana. That's like how much I need to sell. Does that make sense? Why would I do these?
Expenses are hard. So
For 100 pop?
if you sell them for 30, you have to reimburse yourself, then you're only making.
No. If I, like, my expenses are 150, right? Which means each banana is about $30 a banana, okay? If I run this multiple, I need to charge, or I can charge or should charge $100 per banana instead. So that covers my expense. These are my expenses, right? This is my retail price. So I would make the difference, which would be 7.
Oh, sorry.
Does that make sense? But again, there's room in there if you don't have to charge. Sure. Like I said, I think it's easiest to just start with like a list, right? Don't make it accounting. Accounting more complicated gets. Like I try not to really get into accounting language. Because people get lost. Like, oh my god, it's like, no, just what do you spend? Like, what are you buying? Okay, why? Then if you want, we can break it down. It's like, but what's up?
Yeah, and why is that, right? As a small business owner, don't get caught up in the semantics of the accounting initially. Really list out all of it. And to add what Brian is saying, also look at what your competitors are charging as well. Because your expenses may be outrageous and you're having to charge $100 and your competitors are only charging 75 and vice versa. Your expenses could be $50 and you're like, oh, I'm gonna charge $100, but your competitors are charging a lot more. So you can ask yourself, do I wanna be the most expensive? Do I wanna be the least expensive? Do I wanna come somewhere in the middle? What a lot of small businesses do forget when they're starting off is that I wanna be the cheapest. And Ryan started off with the analogy. Shop at Walmart, you shop at Target, and what's the value? I love what my first business coach told me. I own a small gift basket. I own a gift basket business. And he basically said, you want to be the gas station version of those gift baskets. Like, heck no. He said, the prices do not reflect. And this analogy of what Wyatt has shared with you, pricing is one of those, it is the most difficult. You don't want to do, you don't want to lose money. And you don't want to know, you don't want to find out later that you're losing money. And I don't, if you want to give Jody's example of the nachos coming forward.
Yeah.
I think it's a really good example of pricing and you think you're making money or something. And in the end, when you look at it, and I think the whole purpose of this exercise is to really review your costs and your prices.
Yeah. Yeah, so to that point, right? Like if you want one-on-one time and something like this for your business, like I'm happy to do that. Like we can do that, that's fine. If you're just trying to figure out what exactly is supposed to be happening here, You need to list out your expenses and then come to the point where you understand what on a per whatever basis does this cost me to do, right? That'll give you a baseline. Don't undercharge from that point, right? And we're talking about profit, that's a different question. That's a question of value, right? We have to meet expenses. We don't meet expenses, there is no business, right? How much you make personally? Sky's the limit, whatever you want. The example that Margaret was talking about is I got a friend that's coming in named Jody. She owns a bar. She sold probably, I think she even told me later that I was way off. It's like she sold like $1 million worth. $1 million worth. Sounds like she's doing pretty well, right? She sold every order of nachos that year at a 10-cent loss. Right? But it looked like she was doing really good. Because she sold $1 million worth of stuff. You think to yourself, how do you sell $1 million worth of stuff but lose 10 cents every time? Because your pricing is wrong. You didn't incorporate what the cost were. So every single time somebody ordered nachos, she paid them 10 cents. At the end. Yeah, you're paying someone, you're paying them to do the service, and you can't have that be. You literally die a slow to death by 1,000. You had a question?
No, I just missed. No, I just missed. That part. Why 30%?
That's just a generic number. Like, so when you think about margins per industry, there's some figures that you can go off of, right? Each industry is going to be a little different. In hospitality and food, 30% is what you would strive for, 30% margin. There's standards you can look at, like what's the average retail margin and stuff like that. And it's going to be different depending on whether you're selling online, or if you're selling in retail space, whether you're selling. So there's a lot of factors into it. That's why I say it's not an exact science. Profit, it's not an exact science. Pricing is a pretty exact science. Pricing is how much did it cost you to do the thing, and then charge more than that. And that's pricing. Okay? Profit, you can charge whatever you want to charge. Whether someone's willing to pay, completely different question. Well, so depending on the industry that you're in, oftentimes there's like an industry association, and they'll usually provide some baselines for it. Like the National Restaurant Association does it for food, National Retail Association probably does it for.
Gotta keep in mind your national versus your regional,
Yeah.
because price is different. I mean, your expenses are gonna be much more expensive in the north of California versus Texas, who already have that.
Yeah. And that's also why I say, like, I don't really live and die by these percentages, because they're just conceptual, right? Like, oh, well, we hope. Should, right? But is it that way almost ever? Probably. Best again, like I said, know what it costs you to do. You need it. If you're doing education consulting, well, there's a minimum, like what did it cost me to go there? What did I actually have to put together? How much time did I do? And if it goes back down to the question of what was my time worth, right? Then you have to get comfortable with time is worth to you, right? If you're like, you know what, life $1,000, that's all, right? If you're like, man, I really want to make $1 million, well, then your price is not gonna be the $40,000 price. You know what I'm saying? And that's the reality of service. You have to be cool with saying, I am the best mechanic. It's worth $200 an hour, right? You're like, yeah, but every other mechanic costs $50. Yeah, I don't know what they trust that. Like, trust me, I'm $200. Yeah, so you mean like economies of scale and stuff like that?
like, charge these folks this much based on income,
Based on income.
like the customer's income. Like if I wanted.
So that's really more of a nonprofit. my thought process, right? Yeah, so that's feature set. That's feature set, what you're talking about. Like, you're talking about economy, basic economy, don't bring your bag, first class, right? Now you're talking feature sets. It's like, hey, so our baseline is I'll come and teach you math, right? But for a little bit more, I'll teach you reading, and a little bit more, I'll teach you science, whatever, and then it's your volition again, going back to the expenses.
Right, so you're trying, so it's the exact same model, charge this form as there's just market supply.
Yeah, those are, it's just feature sets.
What I have in mind is, for example, different school districts. There's some school districts that are more low income based versus some that are more private and expensive.
But that's gonna go back to your target market. What's your target market? What will that target market pay?
Yeah,
As Ryan said in the beginning, when someone tells me everyone in my market, that lets us know you don't know who your target market. Because your target market, who will pay at the level you want them to pay.
right.
Definitely get in on that nonprofit side. A lot of nonprofits will pay, but remember, part of that is supplement also. They have that low rate. But I have one more question here. I want to be cognizant of our time because we have another group. So one question here and then.
Oh, okay. So this is where we have to go back into value, right? You have a value, for some reason, you want to discount service for whatever group, right? Or you want to provide service at whatever cost, right? That doesn't necessarily mean that it's expense-wise effective for you. That's just what you want to do, right? If that's what you want to do, then sure, you can charge whatever you want. How you should charge should be based on your expenses, right? If you want to cut them a deal, then you can do that. Should you cut everyone a deal? Absolutely not, right? Is there a benefit for you? I don't know. I mean, if your market is like 99% seniors, then no, you're eating 10% every time that somebody is doing the thing, right? If your market is sorta like could be, then sure, if you want to offer it, fine. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, again, if the worker is a fixed price, like I have to be here, like my example, I have to be here all day. It doesn't matter how many people come through the door, I get paid the exact same amount. So the benefit for whoever's paying me would be, dude, get that guy 1,000 people in front. I mean, I don't know what that ROI would be, but for this case, right? If I have a classroom full of 30 people and everybody's paying me $10, well, I'm already sunk. I'm here, right? But if I get that price for everybody in the room, well, great. Then it really does depend on how many people. But when you have activities that can only be done one at a time, you're not going to get that type of scale. So, does that help you answer?
But you could maybe. The base price is above that, it has a built-in discount. In other words, so that you get that discount, but it's still above the cost that you.
again, if you want to do it, fine, right? But I have to emphasize to you, like, it's because you want to. Another, my friend who will be here a little later, she has one discount button on her register. And that is for her mom. Her mom gets 50% off. That is, her mom even thinks, still, right? Mom gets 50% off. Why? And I'll leave you with this. This is what my best friend says all the time. My friends would gladly pay double to see me succeed. If they want you to discount it for them, if they're like, hey, I know the owner, they don't know the damn. Sorry.
Which would be the, like, well,
My friends will gladly pay double to see me succeed. I'm not saying you can't give, but don't let that overtake like the reality of this thing. Because people will take advantage of it.
it's a great note and something so much. He is truly the king of land and south pricing. I hope you guys got a lot of golden nuggets. Let's get Brian in here.
Thank you.
Hi, this is Brian said, we are all here from the Women's Business Center team, the law and safety team. If you all need additional support, 101, meeting with the various business advisors here, we're here to dive in the middle of the pricing. But again, the takeaways are your expenses covered? Brian, he's very right, because I don't do discount. I do value add, because guess what, guys? I'm in business to make money, and I know I say that out loud, but I like revenue, I like to eat, I like to pay my utilities, I like to drive a car, put gas in it, I like to go on vacation. So in order for me to do that, and for all businesses to do that, you have to make money. And don't allow anyone, I call it price change, salary envy, because people will do that. I love that saying. My friends will gladly pay double. And remember this, you will train your customers how they are to react. Just like use the J.C. Penney analogy, they have trained them. So I will definitely say, get out of the mentality of discount. Value added, your services and or products that you provide are well worth it. So with that said, thank you so much for coming. Please make sure you complete the survey as well. Again, that's how, and you keep the roof over our head. By that survey, we ask you to sign up for the classes that we're gonna have for the month of May and beyond. Signed up, you will be getting those notices. Well, to say, we are here to build your foundation for your business, because in the end, we don't want your business just to survive, we want your buy. So again, thank you so much for doing.
Yeah, and if any of you want one-on-one time, like the only thing I'll ask is bring me your expenses and we'll figure it out. I will sit with you and we'll figure it out. But yeah, I mean, this was napkin numbers, right? If you want to get to the details, let's hash it out.
Thanks again, Ryan.